Hello everyone, welcome back to Manga Goblin. I'm Trix of course, and today we're going to continue our Spelljammer series, trying to get it out of the dreaded letter A, because we've been stuck in this now for over a month and it's beginning to haunt me at night. So we're going to quickly go out of A's by just doing the last few creatures left. We've got Asteroid Spider, Astrosphinx and Autonome and Azer. We can do 4 in a video. It might be a bit longer than normal, but let's get to it. First, let's talk about the Asteroid Speaker from the Spelljammer campaign. You can find this creature in the Monstrous Compendium, Spelljammer Appendix. Right, let's just talk about them. Right, they look like asteroids with spider legs, but it's not a true spider. It has enough similarities, so it gets called one a lot. It has 10 legs. Not 8, evenly spaced around its globe-shaped body. Each is jointed like that of a spider, which ends in a small hook. On top of the globe are its sensory organs. So, in the picture we have, they're done like little eye stalks, like you'd find on like those aliens from, I don't know, the 80s maybe. So yeah, they're all black, making them virtually invisible in wild space. The globe itself, the central body, is like a hard shell, like an insect's, but the underside is soft. The mouth is at the centre of its underbelly, so if you imagine directly vertical underneath it, it has a single hollow tooth, like a syringe, and suction cup lips. It is a hideous creature, that's how it's described. Basically, what it will do is it will make webs across various asteroids, wait for ships to fly in them, and then ambush the crew. You won't find one, you'll find 8 of them. Now you can find one, but one Asteroid Spider is probably going to be not really much of a threat. Not for even for level 1 players, you know, because if you have a decent enough team, you're just going to murder the poor thing. Now it's a neutral creature, which means it's not doing it out of evilness, it's just doing it out of trying to eat people, because it likes eating people. The first time we've had a neutral creature that actually is a neutral creature and not labelled as evil or something. It's quite tall, it's about 5 foot or maybe just over 1.5 meters. Now it says here that there's a 90% chance you won't spot one if you're flying in the ship or if it's on the ship, because it's that good at camouflaging itself in the various spheres. They're only found in asteroid belts, hence the name, or in areas where there's lots of debris or space junk, such as like maybe ship graveyards or maybe some other kind of thing like that. Maybe like a shell of a creature that's broken up into pieces or something like that. They're basically spin these webs and they're really strong, and they can trap any ship under 15 tons that is not travelling at quite fast speeds. So you need to be either travelling really fast or have a ship bigger than 15 tons. Obviously this gets increased by the amount of spiders that you have. For example, if you have 8, you'll have 8 times 15. You can hold 8 times 15 tons. Now they can wait years between their meals, and they go into like some sort of like sleep, waiting on their webs, waiting for a ship to drift in or travel slowly towards one of the planets, because you'll slow down your ship obviously trying to get to the body that you're getting to. They'll be in this asteroid field. You're navigating slowly in through it, you'll trap your ship. Basically they'll just go yum 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 yum, steal some air, bring it back to, you know, because they're creatures, they need air. And they can attack. They don't need much air when they're sleeping, and they'll spin a cocoon around the ship once it's caught, and then they'll like sort of like shift it and carry it towards their lair, and then they'll carry the cocoon back and forth between their lair and the ship, stealing all the air from it. They're poisonous as well apparently, and it doesn't keep well, so it's not very valuable. The webbing can be cut and harvested for ropes because they're really strong. So it's also basically it's very flammable, so that's one way of getting rid of it. Fireball will obviously burn it very quickly. So there we go, we've done the Asteroid Spider, and it has a paralyzed attack as well. It's quite fast movement 9. I've only got the 2nd edition stats. We don't have the normal ones with the updated ones, unfortunately. So yeah, so I don't think you could play one because they're not smart enough to be played, to be honest. Then we go to the Astrosphinx. The Astrosphinx is a solitary creature, extremely fast, movement of 18, chain lightning, 1/4 magic resistance. It is 12 foot tall. They're a malevolent breed of sphinx whose origins are unknown. Standing twice as tall as the man, the Astrosphinx is covered with brass-coloured scales like those of a dragon, huge wings which look like bats. Their head looks like a goat skull with tiny. Their head looks like a goat skull with tiny pinpricks of violet light in its eye sockets. The head does in fact have flesh, but it's just so pale and stretched so thinly across the skull it seems invisible. Instead of paws, it has large clawed human hands, and it smells like rotting meat and ozone. They're parodies of true sphinxes. They speak sphinx though, and common. Basically what they'll do is they'll use their horns to bash you down. They're chaotic evil, and they actually act like a chaotic evil creature, which means I don't care, they just want to cause as much chaos as possible. Now, its habitat can be anywhere, and they're extremely territorial. They'll parody a sphinx by challenging people to a riddle. Now they'll use nonsense riddles. For example, what is the speed of blue? Now I'm not a scientist, but I know that different light wavelengths and, for example, different colours do have a speed. So that's not an unanswerable riddle. If you consider we've got Google now. They challenge everything from the smallest insects to, like, for example, if an astral dragon drifted by, they'd challenge it just because they just don't care, they're just crazy. But if you do answer the Astrosphinx's riddle, the beast will explode into a 20d6 ring of chain lightning, killing itself and probably killing a lot of everything around it. Supposedly all is left after that is a clue to the infamous Spelljammer ship. Astrosphinx can survive in space without air, but it can be layered anywhere, so you don't have to use it flying in space. My advice would just be use it as a kind of monster that they might encounter in an area that they've landed in. Maybe they'll land on a planet and they'll use it like that. Now, the Astrosphinx believes all other races should be basically hunted down and killed or eaten. Even the intelligent evil races it can't stand, and it won't have anything to do with them. And likewise, they don't want anything to do with this crazy creature. If you keep any piece of an Astrosphinx, it's cursed and will cause tremendous amounts of bad luck to you. Now, it doesn't give you any rules for that bad luck. I guess that was up to the DM. And again, the Astrosphinx is found in the Monstrous, Compendium, Spelljammer, Appendix 2. Moving down. Autonome. We've only got two more remaining, and then we're out of A. The Autonome is a little bit like a clockwork gnome that you might see in World of Warcraft now. Autognomes did come first, as the Spelljammer Monstrous Compendium Appendix was published in 1991. Now, they're not evil, they're neutral good. They look like a gnome with lots of gears, pulleys, and magic items inside it. The Tinker Gnomes, they call them Tinker Gnomes, create the Autognomes for exploration, rescue, prospecting, and defense in environments hostile to human and demi-humankind. These automatons resemble gnomes, although no one could ever confuse the two because, well, they look more machine than gnome. Their faces are painted and may look even like clownish at times. They walk with like a sort of like stiff gait, wheezing, whirring and rattling. Their arms will swing out of rhythm, and also gnomes speak gnomish, obviously, and common in a very monotone way, so without any emotional or without any inflection. They're about 3 foot tall, and basically you could use them as NPCs. Now, I would allow people to play them, because what I would do is I would just reskin the gnome template. 33% of Autognomes will be used for combat. They obey directives, for example, defend gnomes under attack by non-gnomes, defend yourself against attack, and defend babies and children from harm. The last directive was established with the best intentions. Unfortunately, it neglects to specify races. For example, an Autognome sees elves battling young beholders, it will attack the elves, obviously, because it protects all children. Autognomes attack with their metallic fist weapons. We don't have much beyond that. Now, we do have a malfunction table, which I'll put on the screen now, next to the picture here, but which is interesting because I always love when things are given like tables like this, especially if it adds to the gameplay element and the RP element of a game. Not so much the combat element, but anything that will give you ideas for gameplay is always welcomed, in my opinion. Basically, they'll have no society, Autognomes, but as I said, if you wanted to play one, that would be perfectly fine. Just reskin the gnome template, maybe the deep gnome or the rock gnome, something like that. Now, there is a 1 in 3 chance that Autognomes will go rogue and think that they're real instead of, well, automatons, and that's a perfect way to lead into playing one. They'll parody real life, so they'll try and eat, sleep, and do anything. Now, they can also basically just stand still and wait for orders from someone, if you find one. They can also do the opposite of what you tell them occasionally, and the Autognome will attack anything occasionally being broken. Now, Autognomes cost around 10,000 gold pieces to buy, basically, if you want one. But the DOVA, another race that we'll come to another time, are very interested in Autognomes, and they'll buy intact ones for quite a lot of gold, maybe even platinum coins. They want them that badly. They don't help the ecosystem, but they don't do anything maybe except piling up bits of scrap to fix themselves. They can be a hazard in wild space if you find one, because if they're just floating along in wild space, they might bash up against the ship and damage it, but that's about it. This is, of course, again, from Monstrous, Compendium, Spelljammer, Index 2. The last one, the Azer. Now, the Azer are a race that you can find in other settings. They're basically fire dwarves. So, back then, we're looking at the Azer in the Spelljammer campaign, not the Azer that you can find now. They were called lawful neutral. They were fire worlds, it said. So, for example, lava worlds, or for example, flaming gas giants, or something like that. They'll have special heat attacks that are obviously immune to fire. The Azer are a race of humanoid creatures that inhabit the elemental plane of fire, except under special circumstances. They're very rarely found on the prime material plane. In appearance, they look like dwarves, except they're on fire. And they have brass coloured skin and flames for hair. They're on fire. The skin is metallic and wear only kilts or apron like garments of brass, copper or bronze. They use javelins in weaponry and spears. Occasionally they do use them in hand-to-hand combat. They employ mallet-like weapons as well, equal to a footman's mace in games terms. They are much stronger than you'll find a traditional dwarf, so it says here that you give them +3 to strength on any rolling. When you roll one up as a character. Now, Azer will live on Amazon, or Amiamon, which is this society has its place. So basically, their society is very regimented. The Azer civilization on Garrosh is similar, which has, again, hierarchical society. Azer are usually unfriendly and taciturn and lack compassion. They are greedy, especially for gemstones that are purple or red. However, once you get the word of an Azer, they will do whatever it's possible to fulfill that word. So, again, now Azers are in other settings and they have much more details than the Spelljammer one here. They are about 5 foot tall, so they might be slightly taller than your average dwarf occasionally, but it's also unknown what Azer eat. Their only other natural enemies are other intelligent fire-dwelling creatures, such as, for example, salamander demons or something along that lines. And even this is not related to food, so no one knows what they eat. So that might be quite a interesting plot hook that you could do. You can play them. I have seen playable versions of Azer in later editions. I believe in 3.5 there was one. I'm not sure about 5th, but I definitely remember one for 3.5, so you can definitely convert that. Azers are a bit of a strange race because they sometimes it's a bit hard to know what to do with them, because a lot of times people just go, oh well, they're elemental dwarves, or portray them like elemental dwarves, which is possible, you know, there are some similarities there, but again, I would like Azers to be their own thing, maybe. Not just an elemental version of dwarves, which they seem to be sometimes by some people. I'm not knocking that if you like that. If you like that, fine. Yeah, they're lawful neutral in this. They're very smart. And, yeah. So there we go. Last of the A's. We're finally out of it, guys. We're finally out of it. So yeah, that we go. However, they're in the practical Planetology book, not in the Monstrous Compendium, so that's where you can find the Spelljammer reference to them. I will include all the books in the description of the ones that I've used for this final letter A. There we go. There might be some more A's later on, but unfortunately I have not found any, and if I have to come back to the letter A, it'll be the revenge of the letter A. So do take care, everyone. Thank you everyone for watching this bit longer video, but we had to finally get out of the dreaded letter A. So do take care of yourselves, and bye bye, and happy gaming, and bye bye.